Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Sherber, and I want to welcome you to our sixth grade band concert tonight. On behalf of the entire music department, both high school and middle school, we're glad you're here. Thank you for coming on such a busy spring evening. I got a chance to visit with some of the kids earlier, and they're very excited, a bit anxious. I know some of them shared they've got some readings to do, and they want to do it right, so they're excited about that. Some of them reminded me, Mr. Sherber, a year ago I couldn't even read music, and now I'm up here performing. And that was probably very, very evident in the fall when those kids first got their instrument, and you guys at home got to hear them practicing. But I think what you'll find tonight is with that hard work, in conjunction with the partnership between you and Mr. Herdan, I think you're going to be quite pleased with their progress. It was last month we had our fifth graders in here, and we talked about how excited it would be a year from now and how much they would learn in our music program. So this is just a good example of how that conversation comes to fruition. Again, thank you for coming. When I walked in, I did hear a few phones, so let's turn the ringers off so we can just sit back and relax for the evening. You can definitely take video and pictures, but let's just turn the ringer off. So without further ado, I want to welcome our director, Mr. David Herdan, and this is our sixth grade band.
Thanks, everybody. I'm Mr. Herdan. I'm going to do my best not to talk tonight because I get excited and I say weird things, and I'm sorry. So we're going to let the students do most of the talking. So we're going to bring up Phoebe and Veda to start it off. Give it up for Phoebe. I got you. Let me lower this for you.
Welcome to the sixth grade band spring concert. We've worked very hard over the last few months and are excited to share our music with you. The sixth grade band meets 2 to 3 times a week in 4 sections. We all come together one time on the day of the concert to rehearse as a full group. Tonight's concert will feature programmatic music that describes a scene, tells a story, or brings meaning to whatever it is paired with. As you listen to the music, picture yourself in the scene it sets. Thank you.
In the northern hemisphere, the June or summer solstice heralds the day in the year with the most daylight. The sun will sit the highest and longest in the sky on this day, which led ancient astronomers to know the day as one where the sun stands still. While the astrological history of the day is fascinating to us today, the solstice marks the happy promise of sun, warmth, and fun for the moments to come. Thank you.
start reading now. Our next piece, Valley of Shadows, depicts an adventure of walking through an eerie forested valley. This piece is our first experience with programmatic music, which is instrumental music that is intended to tell a story or depict a specific scene, mood, or event. Using contemporary techniques like dissonance, screaming, and clapping, we will depict an encounter with a snake in the valley, represented by a roach. We hope you enjoy Valley of Shadows.
Spring fanfare is an energetic piece welcoming the joys of spring. The fanfare melody, which can first be heard in the trumpets and clarinets, passes through each instrument as the piece progresses. While working on this piece, we have learned the difference between accented, staccato, and non-marked tonguing. See if you can hear the different styles we play as we play spring fanfare.
After a week of furious thunderstorms, the rain finally breaks. You walk onto your lawn to survey the aftermath, and as you see rain dripping off of every surface, you notice the clouds rolling back and the sun shining through. The grass, which had been looking brown all summer, has a glow of green to it again.
To composer Matt Neufeld, this is also a metaphor for the world starting to become right again after a year of being locked down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. After over a year of trauma and isolation, we began to emerge out from cocoons and see each other again, and begin the long process of righting our worlds. Though the winds blow and the thunder booms, the rain brings growth and healing in the storm's wake.
Thank you so much for coming to our concert tonight. A special thanks to all the teachers and administrators for their support of our music programs, allowing us to rehearse during their classes this week. We would also like to thank the custodial staff for the work they do in our building every single day that allows our rehearsal and concerts to go off without a hitch.
We would also like to thank our masterclass teachers, Mr. T, Papa Herdan, and Mrs. Schneidel, who have worked with us in small groups every week during our band classes. They have been helping us get better at our instruments and learn skills that are specific to our small groups. This activity is made possible by the voters of Minnesota through a grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board, thanks to a legislative appropriation from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. Thank you to Mrs. Jen Mackey for her hard work helping us apply and receive this funding.
And a huge thank you to all of our parents and families for your continued support to our musicians. We will not be here today without your patience and support throughout these early and sometimes challenging years of band.
I just got to talk, I'm sorry. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight and braving the warm weather, and the air conditioning's nice. I just want to reiterate, I want to say thank you to Jen Mackey for writing a grant for us so that we could bring in masterclass teachers so that our students could have small group instruction on their instruments, which has been something that we haven't had for a few years. We've just been learning how to play our instruments in the large group, which is not the norm when it comes to beginning band. So it's been really nice to have those people, like they said, Mr. Hernan Sr., Amy Schendel, and Mr. T. Thank you so much to them for helping our students. Another thing that I want to bring to light, and I'll send an email out probably tomorrow with the information, but this summer we're doing our first ever community band. So for anybody that plays an instrument that's been through 1 year of band, which is them, all the way to someone who, maybe they're 110, anybody can join this community band through community ed. There's posters hanging all over the area back there. You can see them. And I'll send this information out later tomorrow probably. And then the last thing is if you would like to donate to our middle school band program, you sure can through Infinite Campus. There's QR codes all over this room that you just scan with your phone and it brings you to Infinite Campus. That money helps us fix our instruments. It helps us buy new music, bring in guest artists to work with our students. Lots of things that help take our band program to the next level. So again, thank you so much for coming. Oh, they've worked so hard this year, you guys. So hard. They probably deserve to be taken out for some ice cream after this. So a few places in town you can go check out, get some ice cream. Right, Levi? Okay, here's Levi.
Our last piece of music, Endless Skies, captures the boundless and awe-inspiring nature of the open skies that stretch infinitely above us. This piece seeks to evoke the feelings of wonder, freedom, and endless possibilities that one might feel when gazing upon the vast horizon. As the title suggests, it encourages us to dream big and reach for the limitless possibilities that lie ahead. Thank you for coming to our concert. We hope you enjoy our final piece, Endless Skies.
heading out right now. Grab your stuff. You're gonna
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Sherber, and I want to welcome you to our 7th grade band concert on behalf of our entire music department, both high school and middle school. We are glad you're here, especially on such a busy night. I got a chance to visit with some of you, and I know some of you are coming in from a track competition or trap shooting, scouts, whatever it is. Hopefully, you can just relax and enjoy the air-conditioned comfort of our space here as we listen to our 7th grade band. I say 7th grade band, they're not going to be 7th graders for much longer. This will be our leaders for our middle school next year. We have seen a ton of growth, both, academically, socially, emotionally, and physically. As I walk through the lunchroom, I know some of these guys are much taller than they were when they walked in the door in the fall. Mr. Herdan was sharing as well how much growth he has seen in this group. You may share this, but one of the biggest challenges we have is gets an opportunity to get them all in one group at one time. They're on an every other day schedule. They work in ensembles in different groups, and they really don't get a chance with 4 or 5 different hours throughout the day to get in one space. And they don't get that opportunity very often. But he said this group in particular has done a great job with that. Their growth in that area has been substantial. So we just want to know we've seen a lot of growth with these 7th graders. Let's turn the ringer off the phone so we can enjoy that. And then without further ado, I'll introduce Mr. David Herdan and our 7th grade band.
Hey, sorry, I had to take a phone away. I won't name the child to spare the parents, but I did take a selfie. I'm going to try not to speak too much tonight because I get awkward. I say weird things, I'm sorry. But I just talk really fast when I'm excited. So I'm going to let the kids talk for the rest of the night until the very end, and then I'll have to say something. Here's Carly.
Welcome to the 7th grade band's spring concert. We've worked very hard over the last few months and are excited to share our music with you. The 7th grade band meets 2 to 3 times a week in 4 sections. We all come together one time on the day of the concert to rehearse as a full group. Tonight's concert will feature programmatic music that describes a scene, tells a story, or brings meaning to whatever it is paired with. As you listen to the music, picture yourself in the scene it sets.
Not a lot is known about Estrus Busket's early life. He entered the monastery as a young man, but abandoned the monastic life to seek vengeance for his father's death, setting in motion a chain of events that would lead him to black magic, piracy, and ultimately his death during the Battle of Sandwich. He was an outlaw and a pirate, and served as a mercenary for both England and France against each other.
Hey, Gabe, I'll give you your phone back after the concert.
Yeah. Thanks for the selfie.
Anytime.
There are those on this earth who worship the land, and the beautiful sky above makes for a glorious crown. Our next piece, Sky Song, celebrates the natural wonder of the expansive and magnificent blue sky, painted in ever-changing shades of color and light. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Sky Song.
Syzygy is a term used in astrology to describe interesting configurations of three or more celestial bodies, such as the sun, earth, and moon. This piece begins with every instrument playing the same melody together, as if they are planets in alignment. Afterward, the band is divided into 3 groups, and their entrance is this same melody are scattered. This is what is called a canon, or round. By both aligning and staggering the melody in various ways, the music repeats the different formations that celestial bodies can create while in orbit, from perfect eclipse to zigzag-like formations.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
It's a microphone.
Sorry. As the day ends and the night sky appears, the stars slowly emerge one by one, some brighter than others and some large, some small. Our next piece of music, Amber Stars, beautifully paints a sonic picture of the stars at night as they appear first individually and as more emerge collectively.
I don't know if your students told you, but on Friday of last week, we spent the afternoon doing our mass rehearsal, our first time playing together since our last concert. And then we also did a recording session, and we recorded Amber Stars and the last piece, Bozeman Trails, which you'll hear more about later. But they worked very, very hard and like all the way to the last 30 seconds before the end of the day, before the bell rang, to get some good recordings. So hopefully that works out. But Amber Stars.
Thank you so much for coming to our concert tonight. A special thanks to all the teachers and administrators for their support of our music programs, allowing us to rehearse during their classes this week. We would also like to thank the custodial staff for the work they do in our building every single day. That allows us rehearsals and concerts to go off without a hitch.
We would also like to thank our masterclass teachers, Mr. T. Papaherdan and Ms. Sanjel, who have worked with us in small groups every week during our band classes. They have also been helping us get better at our instruments and learn skills that are specific to our small groups. This activity is made possible by voters of Minnesota through a grant from Minnesota State Arts Board, thanks to a legislative appropriation through the Arts and Culture Heritage Fund. Thanks to Ms. Jen Mackey for her hard work helping us apply for and receive this funding.
And a huge thank you to all of our parents and families for your continued support of your musicians. We would not be where we are today without your patience and support throughout these early and sometimes challenging years of band.
I just want to reiterate what he said. Thank you so much for all of your support over the last 2 years to your students. They've been working so hard this year, especially these last few months, getting ready for this recording session that I talked about. It's been a lot of fun doing that, and the opportunities that they've had the last week have been. Do you guys enjoy what we did on Friday? Yeah. Something different. I've never done that recording session and what we did on Friday before with the band. So it was a blast. Yeah, we got a grant. Jen Mackey wrote a grant, and we got a grant to bring in masterclass teachers, guest teachers to teach small groups of students. For a few years now, we haven't had lessons in our curriculum, which has been crazy. I honestly had to relearn how to teach beginning band because I've never taught beginning band in large group like we do here in mixed instrumentation. So it's crazy. But we got a grant to bring in these masterclass teachers to teach students skills on their instrument specifically, which has been such a great help for our kids. And just I've seen students who were struggling, all of a sudden they get it and they're asking the good questions. And it's made such a difference for our students, and that's the best possible outcome we could ever have. Not the last thing. One thing I do want to bring your attention to is that for the first time, at least since I've been here, we're doing a community band this summer. So in July, we're going to have 4 days where students and adults alike can come together and make music. We'll have 4 rehearsals with a concert outside at night. So anybody who plays an instrument from 6th grade on, even adults and old people alike, I'm talking about my dad, he's back there, because he's old, can come together and make music together. So we're inviting anybody from anywhere in the area to join us. And you can sign up through Community Ed. There's posters all over the place in this room on the back wall. You'll also see our composer wall that talks about all of our composers of all our pieces. And then you'll also see these QR codes scattered throughout the room. These QR codes are, if you would like to donate to our middle school band program, you can through those QR codes through Infinite Campus. The money would help to fix instruments that we have, to buy new music, to bring in guest artists and composers and clinicians, and provide opportunities for our students outside of this building. So if you're feeling generous, scan that QR code with your phone. The last thing, the most important thing, everybody. They have worked so hard, and they deserve a little ice cream tonight. So make sure you take them out after the concert. Get some ice cream. They deserve it. I'm serious. Okay, Carly, Elena, are you ready? I know, I'm sorry.
While on a skiing trip in Bozeman, Montana, composer Leandre Benton was inspired to compose this next piece. Bozeman Trails is a fun and exciting work that represents the beauty of Montana wilderness. Last week, Mr. Benton was kind enough to Zoom with our band and share insight with us about his life as a composer. What inspires him when writing new music and other fun things like his favorite color and shape, red in a circle. Getting to speak directly with the composer helped us better understand how we should interpret the music, and it was just plain fun. We hope you enjoy our final piece, Bozeman Trail, as much as we do.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Sherber, and I want to welcome you tonight to our 8th grade band concert. We're excited to have you here on a busy spring night. I know we've got a lot going on. This is the 3rd concert we've had tonight, and it's been a busy night. Parents going from track practice to trap shooting practice and scouts and a lot going on. We appreciate you coming here. It means a lot to come here tonight for this group of 8th graders. And I say 8th graders because they're only 8th graders for a few more weeks. And this is where I tell you, they grow up fast. This is where I remind you that it wasn't long ago that they came here as 6th graders and they didn't know how to read music. And this is where I sit and tell you that whether it's your first 8th grader going up to the high school or you've had many, it doesn't get any easier. It's a little tougher as you watch them grow up so fast. I want to let you know we're very proud of this group. They've done a great job. Mr. Herdon said, "Don't make me cry," because he's worked very hard with this group the last 3 years. And I know it means a lot to him. And so this group is special, and he wanted me to share that. So again, thank you for coming tonight. I'm going to ask that you turn the ringer off your phone. You can take pictures and video, but let's just sit back and relax the evening. Without further ado, I want to introduce our band director, Mr. David Herdon, and our 8th grade band.
Thanks so much, everybody, for coming out tonight. I hope you're enjoying this coolness inside of this room. I'm going to try not to speak very much tonight, because as you know, 3 years in, if I don't prepare, I just ramble and say weird things. So I don't want to do that. So I'm going to have the students read they're going to talk for me. So without further ado, Caitlin, come on up. Kate.
Welcome to the 8th grade band spring concert. We have worked very hard over the last few months and are excited to share our music with you. The 8th grade band meets 2 to 3 times a week in 4 sections. We all come together one time on the day of the concert to rehearse as a full group. Tonight's concert will feature programmatic music, music that describes a scene, tells a story, or brings meaning to whatever it's paired with. As you listen to the music, picture yourself in the scene it sets.
Sometimes life can be tricky, but sometimes everything falls into place and nothing can go wrong. Our first piece, Walking on Air, by Laura Etz, conveys feelings of happiness and endless creativity, possibilities. This piece won the 2021 Women Band Directors International Composition Contest and has become one of our favorite. We hope you enjoy Walking on Air.
Isaiah's taking his time back there, as if he hasn't been here since 5 o'clock. I'm just kidding, Isaiah. Come on.
I have 3 instruments to switch to. Give me a break.
No breaks.
Oh, come on.
No breaks.
About an hour out of Las Vegas, Nevada, there is a Valley of Fire, a state park with magnificent cliffs and bright red sandstone structures. It's a humbling sight. There are also hieroglyphics on rocks dating back 2,000 years, which is even more fascinating. What's even more fascinating is that the whole area was once underwater.
It's hard to believe that this area in the middle of the Mojave Desert, the driest region in America, used to be an inland ocean. Over hundreds of millions of years, the sea subsided as land rose, resulting in the spectacular sight we see there today. Our next piece, Inland Ocean, is inspired by the swirling of water, wind, and sand that patiently formed this region.
first day of school, Logan Mossy told Mr. Don that he wanted to play the duck calling band this year. He attended Woody Camp over the summer and had gained some duck calling skills. Mr. Don went to work searching the internet for a piece of music for a concert band and a duck call.
This research led him to find our next piece, The Lonely Duck. On the Norwegian internet, this is our first time as a band accompanying a soloist, and we've had fun learning how to be supportive in that role. Please welcome our soloist on our duck call, Mr. Logan Mozzie.
Throughout middle school, we've been able to perform music by composers from all over the world. This next piece of music is by a composer named Jose Ignacio Blezalol. He was born in Liria, Valencia, Spain. He wrote Sweet Dreams, My Love in 2019 for a consortium bands from all over the world, including 4 from Minnesota.
Bless a Lil describes this piece as a lullaby inspired by a melody I improvised and sung to my oldest daughter, Iria. The gentle melody unfolds amidst some unpredictable harmonies and colorful orchestrations. Mr. Herdon says that as cute and cuddly as babies are, sometimes they make your brain hurt in the middle of the night. We hope you can relate to Sweet Dreams, My Love.
Thank you so much for coming to our concert tonight. A special thanks to all the teachers and administrators for their support of our music program, allowing us to rehearse during the classes this week. We would also like to thank our custodial staff for their work they do in our building every day, single day, that allows our rehearsals and concerts to go off without a hitch.
We would also like to thank our masterclass teachers, Mr. T, Papa Herdon, and Miss Schendel, who have worked with us in small groups every week during our band classes. They have been helping us get better at our instruments and learn skills that are specific to our small groups. This activity is made possible by the voters of Minnesota through a grant from the Minnesota State's Arts Board. Thanks to a legislative appropriation from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. Thank you to Miss Jen Mackey for her hard work helping us apply for and receive this funding.
And a huge thank you to all your parents and families for your continued support of our musicians. We would not be where we're today without your participation and support throughout these early and sometimes challenging years of band.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Dylan said. Thank you so much for your support over the last 3 years. I know that it started out, they had instruments and they blew air through them and made lots of sounds, right? And slowly you saw over 3 years, they started to actually understand how to play those instruments. And now we see we're full circle. This is our last concert band performance together, you guys. Our last piece together, ever. And then you'll never see me again, you know? No, I'm just kidding. You'll see me. And we do have Valley Fair next week. Oh, baby. But that's a completely different set of music. I have a nasty habit of over-programming my bands, giving them too much music or music that is maybe more suited for like a 9th grade band. My bad. But they stepped up to the occasion and have played some really challenging and really pretty music tonight. So give it up for our 8th grade band. But a lot of their success this year, we started master classes, like they said, in January. Jen Mackey wrote a grant, and we got funding to bring in masterclass teachers, both band and orchestra, to help our students learn their instruments a little bit better. When I started teaching band here, I had to relearn how to teach, especially beginning band. Traditionally, beginning band with 6th graders, or whatever grade they start in, we start in lessons in small groups, individual or like groups of 2 to 3 people, so we can really help them learn how to play that instrument hands-on in the best way possible. But we don't have that here. We have full group instruction. So we have a group of 20 to 30 kids who are playing like 4 or 5 instruments. And it's kind of like teaching 4 or 5 different languages in one class. It's wild, right? But these kids here on stage have shown that even though we have learned how to play our instruments in kind of a non-traditional way, and I had to relearn how to teach, they sound great, right? They have worked so hard over the last 3 years, and it's so impressive to see the hard work. Especially some of these kids played an honor band like a week and a half ago. Some of those same kids are playing in the choir concert on Thursday night. They're playing at another concert of new music next week. It's incredible how much music they have performed this year. But we're only here because of their hard work, right? They have worked so hard. So I'm sorry, one more time, give it up for our 8th graders. I'm gonna miss them a lot. I'm gonna miss them a lot. After 3 years straight, the same guy every single day. They probably won't miss me, but I will miss them. But it doesn't have to come so soon, because this summer, July 14th through 17th, we are gonna do our first ever Monticello Community Band. So these students could join me once more for 4 days only to practice music in the morning. And then play a concert on Thursday night outside in the beautiful weather under the trees in the middle school lawn. And it's going to be fun. And actually, this is open for anybody grades 6 through 110 years old. I'm looking at you, Papa Herdan. He's not 110. We got like 3 or 4 years. It's fine. He's my dad. So anybody, if you play an instrument, you can play in this band. Any of our high school students. Hallie, I'm sorry. You don't, piano, I'm sorry. It's my daughter. She really wants, you can come play. You can come hang out. But anybody who plays an instrument, if you play an instrument, come on out. If you played an instrument, you can remember how to play. It's okay. You can sign up through Community Ed. And I have posters. I'll send out information tomorrow about it through email. Thank you so much for your support over the last 3 years, for trusting me with your kids, for trusting me to teach them not only how to play their instruments, but help them figure out middle school and help them become human beings that sometimes make good decisions. Thank you for laughing at that. It was a joke. I really appreciate you and everything that you have done over the last few years to support them. So thank you. I'm going to turn it over to these two for our last piece of music. Oh, no, I almost forgot. See, this is what I do. This is why I didn't. No, you guys, you did so well. You've worked so hard. You deserve some ice cream. So after we're done, you bring them to get some ice cream. They deserve it. How could I forget? But before they do that, they do have to help me clear the stage because there's a choir rehearsal tomorrow morning. So all the percussion has to go. All the stands go to the classroom. They know what to do. Please support them in that one last thing. And if you want to help too, everything. Chairs are going to go on a rack, but everything else goes back to the classroom. Thank you. Okay, here you go. Anna.
Okay. Our last piece of music, Moscow 1941, is based on a famous Russian song called Meadowlands. This song identifies with an extremely important moment in history during the Second World War, in which the Red Army, against all odds, successfully defended Moscow against the German invasion in October 1941. The German troops were only 15 miles outside of Moscow.
Two million people had evacuated the city, and in November, the Germans launched a new attack. The Soviet army held their ground and brought the German troops to a halt. By December 4th, the Russians launched a counterattack and managed to push the Germans back in retreat. And by January, they had been pushed back nearly 200 miles. Throughout this piece of music, you can hear the sounds of the battle. We hope you enjoy our final piece, Moscow 1941.